Yeah, look, it's disappointing, obviously, for Matt, and our midfield's underperformed, and certainly, there's a few in his same, like in the same boat as Matt's in, but unfortunately, over the last couple of weeks, we just felt that he needed a bit of a refresh, a bit of a reset. Sometimes players need that, we've decided to elevate Miles and give him an opportunity. So, we're underperforming as a midfield, and something had to give, and unfortunately, Matt was the player. But we understand how important he is and how good he is. He's just having a patch at the moment that he, as I said, needs to hit the reset button.
What does he need to do?
Yeah, it's probably just play the game a bit more like he has in the past. He's obviously, we've focused heavily on our defence, and that's something that he's had to sort of adhere to those. And then with doing that and doing it better, like he did against Gold Coast, he just struggled a bit with ball in hand. So now we've got to find that balance again, just to find what makes Matt Crouch great.
He still has a lot of touches. I think he had 22 on the weekend. A lot of them are handballs, obviously. Is it more a premium on his delivery or defence?
Yeah, his ball in hand wasn't great last week, but then, there's a lot of things around a contest that make up a midfielder, and we just felt that at this point, that's what he needs to improve on a couple of those areas.
Three midfielders out, Crouch out and Season, but then just one in for Holton. So I guess that means you're going to put Chase and Nettie into the mix in the midfield. Is that kind of is that the thinking at the moment that those younger guys are going to have more time in the guts?
Yeah, we saw that in the last quarter against the Gold Coast. They did really well. So, and we've got some other avenues up forward as well that can come up around the wings and give us a look at that. So yeah, we've gone obviously a little bit taller in our forward line, and that has taken the midfielders out. But yeah, those young guys are going to get a really decent crack at it this weekend, and we'll see what they can do.
They're doing, I think, had 2 touches last week. What gives you the confidence he can go in there and have an impact in the engine room?
Yeah, one thing is you can clearly see our energy level around the ball isn't at the level that it needs to be, and he brings a real intent about the way he plays footy. So the intent that he brings, yes, he didn't get a lot of the football, but we just feel that if he keeps playing the way he's playing, because what he's doing is all the right things, it'll be 2 touches last week, it might be 10 this week, 15 the week after, and we'll get him to where he's got to get to. So you don't just click your fingers and he becomes a 30 possession midfielder. We understand where we're at as a list, and he needs to be developed in that space. So he did everything that was asked of him last weekend. Yep, agreed. 2 touches is not probably going to get it done, but it's not really what we measure him on.
As far as Shane McAdam comes in, what can you tell us about him? Because he's been in Sandpool, we've seen him at training, but a lot of people probably don't know what to expect from him.
Yeah, a fair bit of excitement, I'd imagine. He's a tremendous young man, and he's worked really hard to get to where he's got to, and he deserves this opportunity. We wanted to play him the last couple of weeks, but he just hasn't quite been right in the body. But he played really well out here last week in the trial game, and demanded a spot really. And he's an exciting player. Like he can take a big mark. He contests really well, but when he hits the ground, he's got some real burst of speed about him as well. So yeah, he'll find out the speed of the game pretty quickly. But he's got some super talent.
As far as Brisbane's midfield, you got Lockie Neal, probably the main one to compete against. Do you look at tagging him? There was a bit of discussion earlier in the week that Ben Keys might do it. I mean, has that been something that you think green light? Yeah,
well, clearly he's a superstar of our competition, and he finds a way to find the ball, and we need to make sure he doesn't get too much of it. So, we'll deal with him as we will other players in the midfield. But yeah, certainly we need to be very accountable to Lockie Neal for sure.
Bryce overlooked again, Mick. Obviously, nothing really shuffled defensively, but
yep.
What conversation has been had with Bryce?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It hasn't changed really. Unfortunately for him, the backs have remained. They held up under 58 inside 50s, I think, last week, and did a pretty reasonable job. So, Bryce didn't come in this weekend, but he's just got to keep performing, keep doing the right thing. He's helping the younger players at the moment. It's a really tough position, but he's not the only one. You got Dave McKay's a 200-game player sitting there as well, and Cole Hartigan. So there's a number of them that are in that boat that they need to develop that next generation, and that's part of their role at the moment.
Could you talk us through what happened with Geordie yesterday? It's obviously a cruel blow for a young man who's struggled a little bit in recent months. Yeah,
I didn't see it myself, but it was just pretty devastating for the club and for him. But to see that any player have an injury of that that magnitude is terrible. So he was obviously out for a long period of time. As a footy club, these things happen. All we can do is wrap our arms around him and support him the best we can. And he was really positive last night back at the hotel, and
Matt and Bryce play in a scratchy tomorrow at all?
Yes, yeah. Matt definitely.
Yep.
We may be holding out one, just depends at this point. Yeah, so that's to be determined. But yeah, Matt will play. That's the Gabba. Sorry, no, it's not. I'm not sure the ground. It's somewhere in Brisbane. I don't know the ground. Yeah, that's in the morning.
Yep.
There's a big call to bring Matt out. I mean, you look at some of the guys. Matt's performance probably, in a lot of teams would get him over the line. I guess, was it a decision you really had to wrestle with as a coaching staff to kind of pull the trigger on it? Because there could have been, I guess, easier ways out.
Yeah, there could have been easier ways out. That's right, and that's the decision that we made. We feel is in the best interest of the Adelaide Footy Club, and that's every decision we make. So, Matt, he's very clear on where he needs to improve. He's not happy about it. No player would be, but we needed to make the decisions that was best for us as a club, and he knows that, and that was a decision made. So, those guys like McHenry and Jones will get their crack at it, and Keys will get a bit more game time in there, and Matt will fight back. He'll be back before we know it. He's just got to hit the reset button. A lot of players need that. They certainly just need to, and it's been an unusual year. You remember, there's been very difficult for some players, and I'm not saying it's been more difficult for Matt than anybody else, but it has been unusual, and we're not playing well as well.
Just on Big Billy coming in, where does he how much time is he going to spend in the ruck, do you think, and how much time up forward? What's the split you're kind of imagining there?
Well, Rob will do the majority of the ruck work, so Billy will just come in to relieve, so the same time that we had Tex or Fogg doing it, so we're only talking a few minutes a quarter. But if Billy, because Billy can ruck, so once he gets in there, if he looks like he can influence the play, we can leave him there a little bit longer and give Rob a bit more of a rest. So, but he'll predominantly play forward. Clearly 18 intercept marks last week's not going to get it done, so to give us another big target up there, and he did really well in the scratchy last week as well. So we're confident we can bomb it in there and he can take some catches.